why don't you start us off?
Rick, good afternoon. Having competed against Phoenix in the bubble, you played against them twice, and obviously know that they went unbeaten in the bubble, and then they've added Chris Paul and Jay Crowder in their free agency trade acquisition period. How high of a caliber of an opponent are you expecting to see in your first game on Wednesday night?
Very high. They've improved their team. They performed exceptionally well in Orlando, and that's no secret. They're a team that is motivated. They've been out of the playoffs for, I guess, 8 or 10 years and are very motivated to get back. A lot of people have them as a top 4 team in the West, with the additions of Paul and Crowder and, with the growth of the rest of their team. And so it's a very difficult game. There's just no two ways about it. And they were, they competed really at an exceptionally high level in the bubble.
Okay, Dorothy?
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time. I know that you played in the bubble in the midst of the pandemic, but now, how do you tackle the first game of the season still in light of the pandemic and the backdrop, the pandemic still going on, and then you have 3 games on the road? Kind of, do you prepare differently than you did this summer in the bubble? Kind of, how do you do that?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, our preparation has been the same as it was headed into Orlando. I mean, the amount of the length of the training camp is about the same. The difference is we're in our home market instead of doing training camp down there. And look, this is a season where you're going to have to be very nimble. You're going to have to be able to adjust and pivot very quickly because there's going to be unexpected things going on. Like, for instance, today, I got over to the practice facility at, 18 minutes after 7 this morning and found out that somebody had run into a power, a power pole that hit a transformer and knocked out the power to the practice facility. So within 10 minutes, we had to change the whole logistics of our day. We practiced over at the American Airlines Center in the old practice court, which is a single court practice court downstairs, which we were in for years before we moved over to the facility on Stemmen. So it's a microcosm of the kinds of things that are going to have to happen. Again, as Mark mentioned, Phoenix is not just a quality opponent, they're a high caliber opponent that's highly motivated. And so, this is, it's a really tough opening game. And then, then we got 2 LA teams and, these are all veteran teams that have their eye on something bigger than just, playing good basketball during the regular season. So these are great tests for us. I wouldn't say that our preparation has really been different on the floor, but certainly with the new testing for the players, the rapid testing with the players, that creates, a different set of logistics. And, it's just new challenges all the time. And you just have to have a great attitude about it.
Okay, Dwayne Rankin.
Coach, I wanted to ask about Josh Green. He was just on a little while ago. See, he's played in some preseason games. How do you see him going into the regular season as far as, contributing?
Well, he's had a good preseason. He's a great practice player. He knows the game, goes hard, works extremely hard. He's a no-nonsense guy that just competes and doesn't have a lot of unnecessary words in his, sort of day-to-day presence on an NBA team. So I think he's a guy that's earn some respect with our veterans. We like him, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have drafted him at 18. And, he's got a chance to play some for us, which is, that's good for him. It's good for us.
3 more. Brad?
Yeah, hey, Rick. After Game 6 in the bubble, you were asked about Luka's performance in the series, and you mentioned some of the greats of the greats, and predicted that Luka would, try to add something to his game, like many of them did each offseason. Is there one thing in particular that he has worked on this offseason, or is that yet to be unveiled?
Yeah, I just think it's overall refinement of his game, of his role as a leader on the team. Each year that passes, he's going to become more and more of that main guy who's the leader of our team on the floor, and I presume off the floor too as time goes on. But he's got so many different things that he already does on the court. In some ways, it'd be kind of a quandary to figure out what he could possibly do next. But I do feel that he continues to work hard on all areas of his game, and everything becomes more and more honed and refined as time goes on. And I think that's going to be the main thing that you see with him.
Okay, Eddie? Inside Eddie today.
Hey, Rick. Chris Paul he's bounced around quite a bit in his career, but everywhere he's gone, he's always been in the playoffs and always made teams better. What in particular does he do or force? What assets does he have that makes him so tough to deal with, and in general just makes everybody else better around him?
He's a great player. He's a winner. In my opinion, he's a great leader. I look at, what he's done as president of the Players Association, what he continues to do on the floor for whichever team he's on. And, his teams always have success. And so, I think Phoenix made a really smart move to acquire him. And what he brings, he brings a competitive constant. He has a level of efficiency where, turnovers are always very low or non-existent. The shooting percentage is always super high. There was a stat last year where he was the most productive / influential player in the fourth quarter, of NBA games for, of the entire season, which is an amazing accomplishment. And, he was one of the really big reasons that, Oklahoma had a lot better year than people expected last year. I mean, they were a 5 or 6 seed. I think they were a 5 seed. And, after trading Paul George and Russell Westbrook, a lot of people felt like they were going to be on the outside looking in, but they were terrific, and he was a big part of that.
And our last one is for Callie.
Hey, Rick. Throughout training camp, a couple of players have mentioned wanting to close out games as being a big focus heading into this year. How do you practice that, or how can you replicate that before the games actually get going?
Well, we play a lot of 2-minute games. We spend a lot of time on end of game situations. And, there are just certain philosophical things that we need to have at the forefront of our thinking. I don't really want to get into what they are, but, we know we got to be better there. But I think also, I've talked a lot about the need for our defense to be better. I think overall there's an appearance that it is better. But our numbers in preseason weren't what I'd like them to be. And so, the last 3 days of practice, we've been working extremely hard on transition defense and bearing down defensively. And, when your defense is better, your offense is going to be better. And so that's really continues to be a main focus. And then, closing games is one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the great challenges. We've got to love the challenge.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Thank you.